Boy, that's good coffee. Well, good morning or good evening, whichever it may be. Welcome back to Blue Ridge Homestead. Today we're going to be planting some tomatoes that we have propagated from the suckers we cut off of our tomato plants over here to my left. Basically, what you do is you're cutting the sucker off the plant. Wait till they get about 6 inches, maybe 8 inches tall. Just clip it down right in the joint of the plant. You can cut the leaves off of it, all but just 3 or 4 leaves, about, I don't know, an inch long, just enough to get it so it can get some sun and still do the photosynthesis. You put them in a jar of water, set them in a windowsill. About a week, you'll notice that they'll have some little root buds. A couple weeks, it'll have actual roots. Ours have been in there about a month, and they've got a mass of roots in them. We've probably got maybe 10 or 12 plants. So that's what we'll be doing today. I'm going to use an old a hog lot gate as a trellis. Bought that off of one of my friends, fairly cheap. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to raise it off the ground so it doesn't contact the dirt and start rusting or anything. And yeah, we've had some rain here recently in central Kentucky, and it was a blessing, but it does make for a humid day. So we're out here kind of early and trying to get this knocked out before it gets too hot. Just kind of sitting here and listening to the birds and watching the bees pollinate. We got a little young goat over here that thinks she needs attention 24/7. So we're gonna stop talking and get after it, and we're gonna take you along with us. So let's talk a little bit about suckering your tomato plants. A sucker is where you have a limb on your tomato plant. So you'll have your tomato plant, then you'll have your leaves that'll come out, your little branches. See, there is no suckers on this because I have already took them off. So that one's good. But you come over here where we have the tomato forest, the big jungle, and you'll see that some of our tomato plants, not all, but some have suckers. This would be a sucker, and it has grown a lot bigger than we should have ever let it get. This would also be a sucker. The good thing about suckers are they just snap right off. Ones that are about this size, I will clip them off, and then I'll come up here and I'll clip these limbs right there, and probably just enough to give it some leaves. Now I will take this and I will stick it in a jar of water, and you may not be able to see, but on these tomato plants they have all these little hairs that stick out, and a tomato plant will take and suck water up, and they'll actually, however far you put it in the water, will put roots out. So what I'm going to do is, for my late crop of tomatoes, I will take these suckers and I will take them in the house and put them in a mason jar right up in the windowsill. I'll take probably 10, 12 of them off our different varieties that we have here. And once they get rooted good, we will take them and actually we'll plant them. And those will be our late tomatoes. So when these are dwindling down, we'll have the other tomato plants that'll just now start coming into their own and making tomatoes, and there'll be tomatoes on these all the way up until frost. So stick with us on that journey, and we'll show you as we go along how tomato propagation works. But this is how you sucker your tomato plants. So you take these, and I would just set them kind of off to the side in the shade. You don't want to leave them out of the water for a very long time. So you may see in another segment we have actually got some water for them, but that's pretty much what you do. The best size really that I've had luck with is ones like this. And again, you just trim the leaves back. They don't really even need that many leaves, just a few, just enough they can collect sunlight still and do their photosynthesis and do what they're supposed to do. But they will root and we'll have more tomato plants. The longer the stem you get, the more roots you'll get. So the more roots, you plant it deeper. Tomatoes like that kind of thing. All right, so I've determined that this gate is approximately 16 feet. It may be 14, but I'm gonna plant them a little closer to this kale, and because I feel like this kale is playing out, and that's Kentucky for they're dying. They're almost done doing what they're gonna do. We're still getting a little bit of harvest off of them, but once that goes, then we'll plant something else there. But I'm gonna try to move them tomatoes a little close to them, and that way I have more row this way. I'd like to maybe get some okra in for late garden. So I'll move them kind of down here, and I'll try to see, my foot's about 14 inches, so that's about right. That'll give it about a good 1.5 feet away from that row. That'll give me room to get in there with a hoe and all that. So I'll drive this post down. Ideally, you want to make sure they're straight, and you want to have a fence post driver, but I can't currently find mine. So the back end of this splitting maul will do just fine. You're going to drive them in just to where the foot goes below the surface, or the plate rather on there. The plate that I'm speaking of is going to be this part right here. That gets them far enough in and they won't fall over that way. So I'm going to step this off. I don't want to put the post right on the very end of the gate. I want to give it a little gate on each end. That'll give me better support for the amount of post I'm using. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I'll go with 9 steps. And again, I'll mark it there. And from this row, 14, that's right on the. So we'll drive this one in now. I don't squash my pepper plant. Good there. All right, set this over here. I should be done with that for now, and we'll find my bricks. What I got is just a couple pieces of brick. roughly. They just old chunks of brick. And I'm going to bring them away from the post just a little. Kind of set them in there. And do the same over here. Set them in there like so. And that gives that gate something to sit on. Alright, so I'll grab this gate now. Move this hoe out of the way. I'll grab this gate. Get it set into place. You know, it's not a super sturdy gate. That would be why it's not a gate any longer. We'll set it right there. And that will definitely do a good job for us, I believe. So I'll lean it against this post. I'll go over and get my wire and my fence pliers. I'm going to take this heavy gauge aluminum wire and basically wrap it around this post and wrap it around this pole on this gate while it's sitting on the block and tie it down. You can do one side at a time. Won't hurt a thing. If you do much working with fence or wire, I'd highly recommend you get a pair of those fencing pliers, and I'll show exactly what they are. I'll put my gloves on for the sake of not cutting my hands with this edge of this wire. So grab it, like so, and you're gonna give it some twist. The harder you twist it, the tighter it gets on that post. Any excess, just point it back towards the post, tuck it under. These fence pliers have a little hammer end, 2 different size wire cutters, a hook for pulling out staples. They're pretty handy. I'm going to do the same thing down on this end. You just kind of bend your wire in the center, go around the back of the post, bring it to the front, and twist. Then you let your pliers do the work for you. You can grab it on the side like this and just give her a good twist. Now if you twist too much, you're going to snap that wire clean off. Most of the times that means starting over. Sometimes you get lucky and it snaps in front of the knot. See, that's good to go right there. We'll just make sure it's back against the post and both ends are sitting on the brick. And that is a done deal. And to see these, all these wires, we can go ahead and attach our clips to hold our tomatoes against it. I'll come through here and put some wire on this to tighten these up. so that don't flop around so much. Now these are the fence pliers I was talking about. You can get them at pretty much any home store. You might even be able to get them at Walmart or something like that. But like I said, got the hammer side, staple. These are your wire cutters. Got a pliers here, wire grippers here, and that's, I put all the wire in that one there and crimp it down and then twist. Does a fine job. All right, I'm gonna bring these plants around so y'all can see those. See what we got. I'll take my glasses off so I can see a little better myself. All right. See, the one thing I did not do that I wish I had done was mark what variety these were, but you can see the mass of roots on these plants, and we have some that are already sprouting off suckers out of there, and new shoots are coming off of them, so it's definitely time to plant them. See that one there? We'll plant it all the way up to the where it wires off right here, and we'll give it a good healthy shot of fish emulsion. See there, that's a new sprout coming off. We'll give it its fish emulsion and let it do its thing. That looks like a brand new plant. That's grew a lot. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna plant these bad boys and see what happens. And again, this is called propagation. So I'm not an expert. So if you know a better way or a different method, I'd be glad to listen to what you got to say in the comments. My wife, she did stick a stem we had cut off with one little leaf in the ground over there by our cherry tomatoes, and it appears to have took off and rooted, but I don't see any sprouts on it yet. And sprouts, I mean like new limbs coming off, it's like that one there. That's what's going to bring your late tomatoes. So with the tomatoes we have here, we bought those plants, we let them grow so tall, we took the suckers off of them, and we used those suckers to give us basically free tomato plants for tomatoes later in the season. So these tomatoes here will produce clean up until frost, whereas those, most of those will be done probably in the next month or so. They'll start phasing out, except for the mortgage lifters on this end. They're an indeterminate tomato, and you can see they're way taller. They're over my head already, so we're going to have to definitely do something there with them. So to plant these, what we're going to do is make sure this mic's still on. To plant them, I'm going to leave a space for one here, I'm not too sure, and probably one here. So I'm going to come down here and plant the first one just so I know y'all can see it. I'm just going to dig a hole. Man, that rain has really done us some good. The dirt is wet way down. All right, so first one going in the ground would be this one. And again, I don't know what variety this is, but I am going to plant it up into the little fork right here, and we'll plant that probably just about 2 or 3 inches away from that cattle, or from the gate. It reminds me of a cattle panel. I guess that's why I keep saying it. But plant that in there. It's a kind of a cloudy day today, but it's very humid. So I'm probably going to wait to give these a dose of the fertilizer or fish emulsion water until later this afternoon, after the sun starts heading over the trees, because if I don't, I'm going to end up burning them, and everything I've worked on for the last month will be for nothing. All right, so I've got them all planted about the same distance apart, and some of them are a little closer, but as they get bigger, we will convince them to go through the fence and we'll bring them up the other side of it. Some of them may not survive, so that's just part of it. Every one of them had really good roots on them. So, I mean, even that one there, it's got a, it may not look like much, but it's got a sprout coming off of it. See, that's a new sprout there on that one. So, I think we're gonna have really good luck with that. Last year, I done the same thing on a much smaller scale. I ended up with, I think, only 3 that I tried just to see if I could do it, and it worked out really well. We ended up with tomatoes. We had to pull them all off with the frost coming. I think it was somewhere around 1st of December when we pulled the last tomatoes off. So it's something you might want to do. So I'll take you over here, and these are our tomatoes here. These are the mortgage lifters. And like I said, I'm 6'2", and you can see they're well over my head already, with no signs of slowing down. So we'll take, as these get taller, we'll lean them this way and we'll bring them down this cattle panel and let them trail us on. Another option would be to get a ladder, drive a post in the ground on the other side probably, and trellis them up the post so far. But yeah, we're getting a few tomatoes in here. There's some life showing in there. On this end we have Rutgers and Romas. And then we come down in here to Cherokee Purples. This one here is not quite ready, but you can kind of see a little of the purple tint down in there. Got more of a purple tint. It's getting close to ready. And as we get down here, we get into the big boys. That mater there is, that's a monster. That's probably almost a 2-pound tomato. Mortgage lifters. We have some yellow ones in there as well, but they have so far been very generous, very delicious. We got the ones coming later on right here. So, all in all, doing really well. This is our husky red cherry. You can see there's a few down in there. And this one, really anxious to see what it does. It's a black cherry tomato. So that's going to be probably an interesting flavor. And remember, I mentioned earlier that my wife had stuck a stem in the ground. This is it right here. And I tried to pull it, but it's it's firmly rooted in the ground. but it just hasn't put any sprouts up. I don't know if that's because it's maybe shaded too much or not. I don't know. Alright, so I got that done. Probably all I'll do in the garden for today. Maybe later this afternoon, like I said, I'll come out here and give those newly planted propagated tomato plants some water with a little fish emulsion in it, and maybe pick the squash again. It looks like there's several coming. Looks like I need to pull carrots too, so there's always something to do on your homestead garden. You know, plant what you can, where you can. If it's just a pot on your back patio with a tomato plant in it or a pepper plant in it, plant something, grow your own. Learn what that feels like, what it tastes like. There's so much more flavor in it. You pick it when it's ripe and you take it straight in your house and cook it or freeze it, you know. But until next time, it's Lewis and Sally for Blue Ridge Homestead saying come grow with us. We got us a Facebook page, we got an Instagram. Y'all come join us over there. Hit like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. You're already here, you might as well. And you can learn from me and I'll learn from you. We'll all learn together.